Hi, I'm Adam. Welcome back to another video about the 12 Realms. It's a game on Kickstarter that will launch as soon as we reach 1,000 followers. This is the first video I'm recording since we launched the marketing campaign for 12 Realms, and it's going well. After just 24 hours, we already have about 100 followers. Today I'm going to be talking about the setting for the 12 Realms. Right off the bat, maybe you've seen this on the promotional picture, but 12 Realms is 2 books. One is the rule book and one is the Realms Guide. If you want to use your own setting or a setting of your own creation or a setting you've bought, you can just use the rule book. The Realms Guide is what I'm going to be talking about today. It's the implied setting for 12 Realms. So I'm a nerd. When I set out to solve the big problems that I saw in fantasy settings throughout the industry, I used my nerdiness. Today I'm pulling from astronomy, the theories of panspermia and evolution, so let's go. The biggest problem I have with most fantasy settings is something called biological essentialism. It's just a fancy term that means that your assumed prejudices turn out to be true. In a fantasy setting, that probably means something like all orcs are violent, all dwarves are stubborn, and all elves like trees. But we're talking about sentient species who have their own free will and individuality. Why can't an orc be a pacifist if they so choose? Why can't a dwarf find an inner calm? And why can't an elf embrace the city life? After all, lots of movies and shows depict humans as curious explorers, but I think a lot of us know somebody who hasn't ventured very far from their hometown. At the same time, elves and dwarves are different from humans in a physical sense, and we want to keep that around. So we need to allow space for free will, but also the biological realities of different bodies. Hence the realms. Each realm is actually a moon. They're all orbiting a gas giant in the habitable zone of its star. And the elven realm would have all of the characteristics a world would need to naturally create, through evolution, a willowy, tree-dwelling, dexterous, sentient species. Whereas on a dwarven realm, you might find that the surface is mostly inhospitable, so they would have naturally wanted to venture underground, and so on through all the ancestries. I won't do that alone. I'm going to hire 12 writers. Each one of them is going to take one of the realms and make it their own and write up the description for it, detailing that world. But then I ran into another problem. I didn't want these ancestries to be all alien to each other and not able to communicate or understand or have empathy for each other. I wanted them to have a connectedness, and I wanted them to be able to have children together. So I enlisted the aid of the theory of panspermia, which is that all the time, life travels from one planet to another by accident, by natural means. It's the same reason we found Martian rocks on Earth. We didn't go to Mars and collect them. They naturally were ejected from Mars' surface and landed on Earth eventually. And life might accidentally spread in very similar ways. I would imagine that moons in orbit around the same planet would have that happening all the time. So the realms peoples actually have shared ancestors. They're not aliens, they're more like distant cousins. It kind of reminds me of when Earth just 200,000, 300,000 years ago had 3 human species on it, right? Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans, and maybe more. They not only shared this planet, but they also had children together. In fact, unless 100% of your ancestors are African, then you undoubtedly have some Neanderthal DNA in your body right now. That's just how it is. So I wanted multiple points of contact throughout history so that this mixing of culture and biodiversity happens again and again and again. It's a really cool idea to me that all orcs in this setting have some elven or some dwarven or some human DNA inside them as well, and vice versa. I've talked a lot about the 12 realms, but most of the setting guide is actually going to be devoted to the 13th realm, which is this new world that's just recently been pulled by the gas giant into this orbit around it. So everything was frozen on that planet, and now because it's receiving radiation from the star and also being heated up by the nearby planet, all the monsters that were sort of hibernating there are coming to life. A monster-filled wilderness with only a few scattered cities, towns, and other settlements. Very few roads connect them, and the ones that do are dangerous. And there are few, if any, borders or even nations. And because of all that, there's not really any ancestral enclaves. They freely mix with each other. So you might have a city that has gnomes, orcs, dwarves, humans, elves, and halflings all kind of living in harmony together because they have to stand united against outside forces. And those outside forces are in and among this vast system of ruins, evidence of an ancient civilization that has died out and just left all this stuff behind. A big part of the setting is figuring out who these people were, why they disappeared, what did they leave behind. That's the mystery that all these heroes are going out to discover. So it's a fantasy setting for bands of adventurers to go out, which is exactly what I wanted. It's all come together now because of those three nerdy subjects and my own nerdiness putting them together in my mind, solving a few big problems I had with other fantasy settings. If that appealed to your inner nerdiness, find the Kickstarter page, hit that notify me on launch button, go to the Patreon page, check that out, and I have so much more to share with you. We're just getting started. We're getting to that 1,000 followers, just 900 more to go.